I mean, I think he did well. I think he looked good. Uh, I mean, he came up big when we needed him to, and there's going to be some ups and downs for anyone, especially a rookie. But he went in there, and he looked composed. He got escaped out of some sacks, broke the pocket, made some big time plays, and just looking for him to continue to grow, looking for that clock to speed up a little bit. But he looks more and more at ease each week.
Football fans, get ready for what just happened in Cleveland. It's totally nuclear. Myles Garrett, the Cleveland Browns' star defensive player and face of the franchise, just dropped a bombshell that has the whole organization on high alert. He is the 8th player in NFL history to get 100 career sacks in just 113 games. When a player like Myles Garrett speaks out, and a leader like him breaks from the usual player-coach solidarity, you know that something is very wrong behind the scenes in Cleveland. The Browns lost to the Tennessee Titans, who are 1-11, by a score of 31-29. They should have won the game. A game in which they were 4 12-point favorites at home. A game in which their rookie quarterback, Shador Sanders, played like a pro, throwing for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked like the franchise quarterback Cleveland has been looking for. But in the most important moments of the game, when Shedeur had just led them on an 80-yard touchdown drive and they were close to scoring again, Kevin Stefanski took him off the field twice for 2-point conversion attempts. The outcome? 2 failed conversions, a terrible loss, and now Myles Garrett is at the microphone basically calling out his head coach in a way that is making headlines all over the NFL. When asked if Shedeur could lead the team back to where they could have been in overtime if they had made one of those 2-point conversions, Myles Garrett's answer was calm but direct. "I think he did a good job. I thought he looked good. He was there for us when we needed him." You can already hear the subtext. Garrett is praising Shedeur and saying that the rookie quarterback came through when it mattered most. This makes you wonder why Shedeur wasn't on the field for those important plays if he was doing so well. Garrett went on, "Everyone is going to have some ups and downs, but especially a rookie. But he went in there and seemed calm. He got out of some sacks, broke the pocket, made some big-time plays, and I'm just hoping he keeps getting better. I wish the clock would speed up a little bit, but he seems to be getting more and more comfortable each week." This is what a leader says. This is a veteran superstar who knows how to win in this league and can spot talent when he sees it. He's basically telling everyone who can hear him that Shador Sanders is the real deal and can be trusted in those important moments. The meaning is very clear. Myles Garrett thinks that Shedeur should have been on the field for those 2-point tries. He doesn't say it directly because he's too professional and a team player to throw his coach under the bus in front of the press, but the message is clear. It's not an accident when a defensive leader goes out of his way to praise the quarterback's calmness and big plays in a game where that quarterback was inexplicably pulled at the most important times. That's a sentence. Kevin Stefanski, on the other hand, talked to the press like someone going to the dentist for a root canal. His press conference was a masterclass in dodging questions, giving non-answers, and taking responsibility while somehow saying nothing of substance. When someone asked him directly why he took Shedeur off the field for the 2-point attempts, his answer was frustratingly unclear. "It's a play for 2 points. We didn't get it right on our first 2-point play. Made it to the second 2-point play." Stefanski said, "We didn't come through, but it's on me." This is how he explained the decision to go wildcat when your quarterback has been scoring all day. When asked if the play call was his or offensive coordinator Tommy Rees's, Stefanski got defensive. "I make all the calls. It's all my fault." He said this many times during the press conference, as if saying it louder and more often would make it more believable. But here's the deal. Being responsible without really explaining why you made the decision, or admitting that it might have been the wrong one, isn't real accountability. It's business talk. It's coach talk, meant to end the conversation instead of addressing the real issues. The reporters in that room weren't going to let it happen. They kept pushing and asking the same questions that everyone at home was yelling at their TVs. When asked directly if he didn't use Shedeur on the 2-point play because Shedeur fumbled the first snap, Stefanski quickly said no. But when asked how soon he knew he was going to go wildcat for that play, he said, "Pray during the week you talk about 2-point plays and total plays that you like in those moments." So, let me get this straight. Kevin Stefanski had already made up his mind that if they needed a two-point conversion, he was going to go wild. This was before the game even started, before he saw how Shedeur would play, and before he knew how the game would go. That's the kind of rigid, unyielding thinking that costs teams games. That's coaching from a script instead of coaching based on what's really happening. Shador Sanders had just led an 80-yard touchdown drive in 7 plays. He was on fire. He was in time. His teammates trusted him, and it seemed like the team's defensive leader did too. Cleveland had all the momentum. Stefanski's answer was to stick with a play he had planned for the week instead of changing it because his quarterback was having the best game of his young career. That's not smart. That's not even good enough. That's being stubborn. That's pride. That's a coach who cares more about being right about his plan for the game than about giving his team the best chance to win. The Browns' locker room must be full of anger. Myles Garrett said that the run defense fell apart and that the team let the Titans, who had only won 1 game all season, run for 184 yards. Winning is always the goal. Get ready as best you can, practice as hard as you can, and then hope that you do what you've been practicing all week. Garrett said, "We didn't do that." Garrett was honest when asked what went wrong with the run defense. I agree with what he said. It's not what we are. I can't say for sure what it was, if it was one thing in particular, but it wasn't us. That's a defensive leader taking responsibility and saying that his unit didn't do what it was supposed to do. But he also shows the confusion and frustration that comes when a team that is supposed to stop the run gives up almost 200 yards. The Titans had a simple plan for the game. Keep the ball away from Myles Garrett, run it, and don't let Shador Sanders get into a groove. They were able to do 2 out of 3 things. The running game worked. They chipped and rolled protections to stop Garrett, but they couldn't stop Shedeur. The first-year quarterback was amazing, even though everything was going against him. When talking about how the Titans treated him, Garrett agreed with this. "I was carrying the ball, can't get a sack on a running play. They chipped, rolled the pocket, and did all the other things they usually do. He was getting it out of one read and putting it in the air. They would keep running the ball on the next drive if they couldn't get it in one read. They just kept their heads down and kept working hard." That defender has been around for a while and knows how to follow a game plan. He also respects when an opponent plays well. But notice how Garrett keeps going back to execution, doing what you're supposed to do, and sticking with what works, even when he's talking about the other team's offense. The meaning is clear once more. Why is our coach giving up on what works for our offense if execution and sticking with what works is important for the other team? The special teams mistakes made things worse. For example, a blocked punt gave the Titans great field position, and kickoff coverage let the return start at the 15-yard line. These are basic mistakes that you can't make when you're playing a one-win team at home. When asked about Bubba Ventrone, the special teams coordinator, Stefanski wouldn't say anything specific, and instead said, "We have to play better. We need to be better coaches." That's fine, but when does "we need to play better" turn into "we need to make changes"? When does being responsible really mean something more than just saying the word? The news about the injury only made things worse. Ethan Posich, the starting center, probably hurt his Achilles, which wasn't good. Stefanski says that several players are dealing with concussions. The injuries are adding up, so it's even more important for the coaches to get the most out of the healthy players they have. Shador Sanders was the most talented, most important, and most game-changing player on the field for the Browns on Sunday. Let's talk about what Shedeur did in this game, because it was so great that it should be praised, celebrated, and recognized. He threw for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a beautiful fade route to Fannin that showed touch, anticipation, and placement that you don't see from rookies. A 7-yard rushing touchdown that showed how quick he is and how good he is at finishing runs. Leadership in getting the team back from a 14-point deficit against an opponent who was in charge of the clock and the pace of the game. The interception was bad, no doubt about it. Trying to do too much, holding the ball too long, and making something happen that wasn't there. But here's the deal with young quarterbacks. They mess up. They want to get back the plays they lost. The difference between the good and the great is how they deal with their mistakes. And Shedor's answer was to lead 2 touchdown drives in the 4th quarter, one of which was an 80-yard beauty that made everyone in the stadium think the Browns were going to win. To his credit, Stefanski did admit that Shedeur was very good at some things. It's clear that there will be ups and downs with any young player. I thought there were some really good throws, especially late in the drive. I thought he did a great job there. He moved his pocket really well at times. Yes, Kevin, yes. So, why wasn't he on the field for the 2-point conversions? His pocket movement was great. He was great late in drives, and he made great throws under pressure. This is what everyone wants to know. Myles Garrett is basically asking this question when he praises Shedeur. This is the question that fans of the Browns are screaming into the void. Kevin Stefanski won't answer this question with anything close to honesty or substance. From a strategic point of view, the choice to go for 2 after the first touchdown, making the score 31-23, makes sense. Stefanski said it was something they had talked about a lot, and that when you're down 14, you feel good about that choice. The numbers add up. If you get it, you're down 6 and can tie with another touchdown and an extra point. You still need another touchdown and a 2-point conversion, so if you don't get it, you're still down 8. But the execution went horribly wrong. Shedeur dropped the snap on the first try. Not the best, but it happens. Snaps get messed up a lot, especially when the backup center is trying to do his job in a loud, high-pressure situation after the starting center gets hurt. That's how football is. You go on to the next play. The second touchdown made the score 31-29. They need the 2-point conversion now to tie. And this is where Stefanski's choice goes from questionable to wrong. He didn't give the ball to the quarterback who just led you on an 80-yard touchdown drive and made a lot of big throws. He has shown all game that he has the poise and talent to do it. Stefanski goes wildcat when it matters most. Austin Judkins gets the snap, but he either forgets to pitch it back for a pass or the play just falls apart and he goes nowhere. The conversion fails, which means the game is basically over. Shador Sanders is standing on the sidelines, helplessly watching as his coach's stubbornness and ego cost the team a chance to tie and maybe win. The reporters kept asking Stefanski about this. Was it because he fumbled the first play that you didn't use Shedeur on the 2-point play? Stefanski: no. Did you already know you were going to that play, Stefanski, before the drive started? Yes. There it is. The admission that this wasn't a reaction to the flow of the game or the situation. This was planned ahead of time. Stefanski made the decision before the drive even started that he wouldn't trust Shedeur with the 2-point conversion, no matter how well Shedeur was playing. That's not coaching. That's sabotage. That's putting your own plans and your own ego ahead of what's really going on the field. That's the kind of inflexible thinking that gets coaches fired. And now, Myles Garrett, the clear leader of this team, is going out of his way to praise Shedeur in a way that makes it clear that he doesn't agree with the coaching decision. When asked if Shedeur could lead them back, Garrett didn't just say he played okay. He talked a lot about how good Shedeur looked, how calm he was, how he made big plays, and how he seems to be getting more comfortable each week. That's a well-known star using his fame to back up a young quarterback and, by extension, to ask why that quarterback wasn't allowed to finish what he started. Garrett is aware that the media will notice this. He knows what he's doing, and the fact that he's willing to do it, even in this calm and professional way, tells you everything you need to know about how things are in Cleveland. Shador Sanders is believed in by the locker room. Shador Sanders is believed in by the defense, which is led by its best player. Based on how well Shedeur and receivers like Jerry Jeudy are getting along, the offense believes in Shador Sanders. The head coach is the only one who doesn't seem to fully believe in Shador Sanders. And that's a big problem. Garrett's message to his teammates before the last 4 games of the season was clear and strong. Get ready to win. Get ready. Put in a lot of effort. Don't change anything about how you focus, prepare, or do things from the start of the year to now. This is getting us ready for the rest of this year and next year. How we deal with these games says a lot about us as men and as a team. Notice that he said the Browns are pretty much out of the running for the playoffs at this point next year. These last 4 games are all about growth, planning for the future, and creating a culture and identity that will last into next season. And the most important thing about that future is that Shador Sanders keeps getting better gaining experience, and building his confidence. Pulling him in at important times isn't helping him grow. It's making it harder. Even when you play well, execute, and lead the team down the field in a tough situation, you still can't be trusted. That's how you make a young quarterback lose faith in himself. That's how you make people doubt and hesitate. That's how you ruin the future of a franchise. Stefanski's press conference was very different from Garrett's. Stefanski was defensive, evasive, hiding behind corporate speak, and refusing to give real answers or admit that his decisions might have cost the team the game. Garrett was honest, thoughtful, and supportive of his teammates. He also subtly criticized the coaching decisions without being openly disobedient. When a reporter asked Garrett what Shedor's performance means for the future, giving him a chance to either support or question the coaching decisions, Garrett jumped at the chance. He praised Shedor's ability to move in the pocket, get away from pressure, make big throws, and stay calm. Every word was carefully chosen, and they all sent the same message. This kid is one of a kind. Every week he gets better, so you can trust him. The Titans won this game because they had a plan and stuck to it. They were good at running the ball. They used chips and quick passes to take care of Myles Garrett. They looked after the football. They did what they had to do to win, but they shouldn't have. The Browns were the better team. The Browns had a better quarterback. The Browns could have won, but they lost because of bad coaching, bad special teams, and bad defense. They gave up 184 rushing yards, had a blocked punt, missed 2 two-point conversions, one of which involved taking your best offensive player off the field for a trick play, and had problems covering kickoffs. You can fix these mistakes. These things should never happen to a professional football team, especially one that is playing at home against a team that has only won one game. The reporters at Stefanski's press conference were tough on him. They kept asking about the two-point choices. They wanted to know why they didn't kick after the first touchdown. Stefanski said it was something they've done before and that you can see it happening in the league. The idea is that if you get the first two, you know what to do at the next one. But that logic only works if you really do have a two-point play that you trust. If you fumble the snap on your first try and run a wildcat play that doesn't work on your second try, the plan falls apart completely. You've basically put yourself in a situation where you have to make 2 low-percentage plays in a row. When you don't, you've lost the game that you could have tied by kicking the extra point and then scoring another touchdown and extra point later. People are going to keep second-guessing this, and they should. Stefanski made choices that made it harder for his team to win, and then when those choices didn't work out, he wouldn't take real responsibility or explain his reasoning in any meaningful way. Myles Garrett, on the other hand, had just set a record for sacks, even though the Titans' game plan was meant to stop him. He took the time in his press conference to praise the rookie quarterback and subtly ask why that quarterback wasn't on the field when it mattered most. That says a lot about Garrett's leadership style and what he values. He doesn't care about his own accomplishments, even those that are important in history. He is focused on winning and the team. He knows that Shador Sanders is the best person for them to do that. Garrett's need to speak up, even in this calm way, shows that there are conversations going on in the locker room. People talk. They know what's going on. They know when the decisions made by the coach don't make sense. And when those choices cost them games they should have won, they get more and more angry. People say that Shador Sanders is handling all of this with amazing grace and maturity. But in line with what he said in his press conference after the game, where he talked about faith, forgiveness, and staying focused on getting better. But that doesn't make what is happening to him any less unfair or any less bad for the organization's future. The Browns have a quarterback who is their franchise player. He is right there. He was picked in the 5th round, but he's playing like a first-round pick. Every week he gets better. He's earning the respect of his teammates, even the team's best and most important defensive player. He has all the qualities you want: accuracy, mobility, calmness, leadership, the ability to perform well under pressure, and the ability to learn from his mistakes. But the head coach keeps undermining him, keeps pulling him at important times, and keeps making choices that show he doesn't fully trust or believe in the quarterback that everyone else can see as special. How long can this go on? How long will it take for Jimmy Haslam and the Browns front office to realize that they have to choose between making Kevin Stefanski happy and giving Sanders the best chance to become the superstar he can be?